So one of the other modes in Blitpaint is the pixel mode. Now if you press G a few times, you'll get this large pixel grid. You get this smaller one, which I like, and you get a really small pixel grid, right? It sets up the brushes for you, but you can change the brushes to whatever you want, and those brushes will also snap to the grids. Okay, that's kind of useful. Alright, so what I want to do is clear everything and go to the grid with these pixels, and I just want to start making a picture, and I'm just going to use the mouse for the whole thing because I don't want any tablet pressure to come through. And let's see how I go with this size wise. Let's see, I'll go for that one, and I'm just drawing a sky. I've got a few palettes that I could use as well. Let's use the old Commodore palette. See how far we get with this. Now I'm just going outside the border here because it doesn't really matter at this point. And you see I've used up a little bit of memory because I'm in this kind of stroke mode. In fact, let's do that again. And this time I'm just going to try and keep it really tidy. Now if I do a big bit of spacing, I won't use up the memory as fast. I could even put it on a stamp mode to make sure that I don't do anything out of place. In fact, I can make this much bigger. Just it doesn't really match the grids so well when it's this big. Just a wee bit out, and I guess I can fine tune it. That looks okay, right? And I'm in stamp mode, so I'm just going to plop this down as a sky. And let's do the ground as well. So I'll make this smaller. See, it does start to lose a little bit of its definition. I'm going to have a kind of lookup table for the sizing for this one because it does fall out of place a little bit. I guess I can try and sort of estimate it this way. If I stay on that line. Okay, that's not too bad. Right, now I can put in some green. Already looking very Commodore-y. Right, I'm just going to put the size back down. I just press S and don't move and it will snap to the smallest size. If I can use a bracket, I can go up a few steps. Right, the only problem is I can't really see the grid anymore, but I'm just going to rely on the actual pixels and let's see what I can make. I guess what I can do is I can make some assets on the side here. So I'm going to make a kind of pixel tree. Now the resolution of this isn't your standard multicolor resolution you would get in a real Commodore, but I'm just going for this nostalgic look, so I'm using the palette and using whatever pixels I want. And the resolution of this, I think, is true. I think it's 320 by 200, but don't quote me on that. Spacing right up. Okay, because I'm trying to preserve the memory as much as possible. Even though I've gone for the bigger option of memory, I just want to preserve it. Right, so I've got that. Now I'm going to grab this brush. And I was going to say the good thing is it will snap to the grid, but it doesn't do that. And I'll be lucky to get it in place, but I can use the keypad to refine it. If I hold down 0 and move left and right, or the dot left and right on the, I press left and right, I press 4 or 6 on the number pad with dot, I can like get that fine tuned so it's exact. Okay, so that's now snapped there. It's made this little pixel thing for me, and I can basically, we'll keep that there for now. I can plop down these trees just like this, right? And if I do Alt X, I should, yeah, get the opposite effect. So I can add some here, right? And if I scale it down, I just have to be careful that I don't actually draw it scaled down, because the pixels are now smaller. So I have to actually draw this the size that it came in at, and that size is, so scale 1, right? So it is a 1-to-1 type thing. If I want to make a new version of that, I'll have to work in the space again. So I could, let's go up to this layer actually, could do that. So I'll click that there. I'm going to do Shift and R just to rotate this. If I hold down the right mouse button and click, left and right, oh, it's not working, but if I press Z, and I can switch on to eraser mode, right? It's a toggle, and I'm just cropping bits away of this one. Don't worry, I'm in a fresh layer, and I'm just going to press G a few times to go back to this grid, because that gives me the pixel back the quickest way, and Z to turn off eraser. I'm just going to paint a little bit of a variation of this. Okay, so I'm going to hide that, and again, just going to grab this sprite. Let's made a new one, and just make sure it's in the right place. So I'll use dot and 6, 4, and then 2. Okay, so the dot gives me like single point, definition of where things go. So I've got everything in this little scene here. I should really be using layers and stuff where possible, but I'm not too worried about that. Right, just going to dot a couple more trees in. Like that. Okay, I can also, so I'll move these up. I'm going to rotate using Shift and let's see, Shift and R to rotate. I just want to create little shadows. Right, so what I'll do is I'll choose shadow color. I'm going to choose that gray. And if I press D to go to this top one, I'm going to right click for the gray there as well. It's basically going to tint everything that gray tone. Right, like that. And I can yeah, make some shadows. I did this in the wrong order, but you get the idea that if I did this properly, you'd see what I'm trying to do. Alright, so the shadows are all leaking out of the picture, so I can fix that. I could basically get the eraser brush again, so I'll just press G to come back to this grid, just to kind of work around right now, and then drag it up a few times. I'm just going to erase a bit of spacing. Right, I broke a little bit, that's okay. In fact, I can undo. Undo still works. Right, so I've cleaned that up. I can get rid of these other trees at the side here if I want, like this one. I can get rid of that, right, because I've already picked it as a brush, and same with this one, and get rid of that. It's just my little workspace if you like, or I could work in a different layer. Right, so I'm going to merge everything down eventually, but I want to just be careful. Like, I can put things behind the grid as well, like if I put it down here, it's behind the grid, so I can see the grid again. So the grid sort of sits here. But I'm just moving these layers down. Don't know where that one went, it's so hard to see it. I think it's yeah. There we go. It's just the same sort of grey. Right. And then I can paint in some little rocks or something. Let's see, turn off eraser mode and make a little rock. Yeah, I can see the mode's wrong for this, so I'm just going to press D to go to that first mode, so I get that solid grey, and then change the size. Let's see the next Commodore color, this one. So imagine this was like the Commodore 64 2, where they'll let you use more pixels, or it's using some kind of sprite trick, who knows, or it's just made up and I just like the nostalgic colours, to be honest. So I've made that little rock, I'm going to work on that later, and I just want to draw in some like trees in the distance, just suggesting them like this. Okay, and I'm going to scatter in some sky. Now the scattering doesn't work in pixel mode because it doesn't care about the location just yet, but that's something that I definitely have to think about. Spacing will work though, so you can just use the spacing, and just going to go to town with that. Scatter's just not taking into account the position change. But these are little things that are they're low priority for sure. Let's choose some white and just gonna some yellow cloud or something. Right, let's get that rock to a sprite, so on that layer, and let's just see how well it snaps to the grid. Oh, that is a lucky pick. Doesn't always happen that way. That was a lucky pick. Oh no, it's a wee bit out, so dot and yeah, just a tiny bit out. And I'm just going to plot the rock in front of the shadows. I'll go up to this layer, and if I do Alt X, I can flip that round. Okay, so if I press enter, it's going to redraw everything, all the steps that I took, and it's redrawn that whole image. Pretty cool, right? I'm going to do that again, press enter. You see even redrawing the trees that I made and the sprites that I made on the side. And now back to basically where I was. So funnily enough, I should be able to erase, but I don't think it's working anymore in this version. Used to be able to erase with left and right mouse buttons, but now it's just this one. And I need to draw some dark tone here, otherwise that doesn't look right. Eraser. Let's do a little plant here. Right, let's use the brighter green and scatter that down. I do prefer the checker type shading though, but it's noisy to get it here. I could kind of make up one on the side. Yeah, in fact, let's just do this in white, right? And that way, I do this in white. Right, I just want to make it sure it's got a start and an end, so I'll do Z and okay, that should repeat, right? And if I grab this, right, and just make sure it's in place, so now I've got a little checker. And I can pick the color, use mode, this mode, right? This mode is gonna tint it, make sure that color's on foreground and background. And I should be able to, get eraser mode on, should be able to stamp in this checker effect. Right, just to get things looking more checkery. Can't see it when I'm erasing, but this is just how it could be used. So you see I'm building up all these little brushes just as I go, which is good. Makes it easier to make stuff. A bit like just copy and pasting really, but you get to go back to these brushes and they're easy to find. You don't have to find what layer it's on or whatever. Right, so I'll choose green now, and I can plop down some little checkers like that. And I can just erase what I don't want. I've got a little bit of build up, which is nice. I'm just carefully placing these. So stamp mode would be better, because I've not used the memory up as quick. No idea what I'm making, just a mound of highlighted grass. Right, so I'm going to press G a couple of times, come back here. Okay, and choose that color. And I'll just sort of get rid of some of that just by drawing over it. Turn stamp mode off and get rid of a few bits. And I've got my little check ray effect. That's not the perfect green because I need to be in a different mode. Right, I can already see different tones of green here, but I'll try and fix that up. Alright, no need to get too fussy. Let's make a little bench. It's a little bench kind of looking out into the sky or whatever, and I'll put a little sun in here. Or, let's see, so a little bench. So choose that. Brown. You go into stamp mode. Let's make this bigger, erase all this stuff. What layer is it on? This one. Alright. Let's hide the UI for a second. And we'll just start making a little bench. Let's do it with black. So a few things that could improve here, like I could have a line tool. These things take longer to develop, and I'm trying to keep the whole thing as fun as possible to use as it is. And the updates will come slower after a while now, and it will be like, where's the next feature coming? When is it? Right, and choose that brown. Let's do another little line now. Damn it, used to be able to erase this way. I don't know why. Why did I disable that? I forget. Let's do a little bit of orange here. And a shadow. Right, great, yeah. Okay, there's our little bench. It doesn't look great, but anyway, I'm going to grab that and then plop that in the scene. Let's just fix the sprite. So you can use 0 with number keypad keys 2, 4, 6 and 8, or you can use dot, or you can use it on its own, and see it will shift it different amounts. So I can move it there and then 0 to fine tune it so it hits the pixel perfectly. Right, so that's now done. I don't have to do that again. And I'm going to plop a little bench down like here, or not, maybe here. So that's a little bench, and we can then focus on the sky a bit more. So I'm going to press G until we get back here again, and it resets all the brushes and whatnot. So I'll have to go back into stamp mode and decide where the sun is. Let's put the sun up here. mostly in front of us. And I'm going to use a little bit of the little kind of anti-aliasing trick, plus it helps tint the sun a bit. Let's do a little kind of radial effect. That's cool. I'm going to want some twigs and stuff as well, so I'm going to plop some little twigs down just to make the ground look busier. Okay, let's go back up here. If I was to enable some sort of way of saving all this plot data to like a file, and you can batch it out, and it referenced all the sprite files, like save all the sprites as well. So when you make a sprite, it would save it, reference it, or any sprites that you've used, it would save copies of them. And ideally, like that batch file would read them back in, and you could have a kind of player in a way, like something that just plays back your little scene. That is what I'm going to work on a little bit later today, and not sure how far I'll get with it, but it seems pretty interesting. Don't have a lot of greens to play with, just need to work with what we got. Let's plot some little reds down, make some little plants. In fact, some little plants would help the whole thing, wouldn't it? A bit of pink there. Guess that needs a little shadow. Let's plot some little yellow daisies around. We've got this lighter grey, it can be useful for things in the distance. We kind of see across the city or something, or maybe the seas here, and I could do a kind of shoreline like that, right, and then that just helps to make this look complete. Just extend that kind of out so that your eye makes sense of the shoreline. Let's go for this blue here, and we'll draw in a little kind of rock in the distance. I'll put a little lighthouse on it. This is as much detail as I can get on that, and maybe a little kind of pathway of bricks here. So now if I press enter, you ready for this? This is the fun bit. it's going to rebuild everything. Oh, Z and click that. Can't have any pixels out of place here, just in case of finding which one is on the trees. There we go. Right, so Z, oh sorry, enter. You see it's rebuilding everything. It's going through all the memory. Just me getting rid of some of those rogue green pixels. And yeah, that's that. So you see how much memory I've used up with my little memory chip. I'm trying to keep it all kind of old school feeling, like using a limited machine. So much memory on it. It just brings back the nostalgia. Let's just add a few more plots here. I guess I could dot a few sort of pinky oranges, but you see how dark that is? Yeah, you don't have a lot of color range with a Commodore palette. You have to kind of improvise. This dark blue, yeah, I wouldn't. Is that the dark blue that I used? I used a light blue, didn't I? Tempted to add in something else, like a little speedboat, maybe just a little grey dot and just some little bits of sort of light coming off it. That's basically a speedboat. Let's do a little bit of, there we go, it looks like a little boat or something there in the water. It's hard to do it with the size pixels. Birds always help. Birds in the sky. It's going to be my trademark thing. I would always add birds in the sky. And then as they go into distance, they get a little bit more bluey and smaller, so they just become little dashes and dots. There's my little picture. It just needs a little thing in the foreground, like a little blade of grass or something. So stat mode's off, spacing. Continue that green, and I've not used much of this purple tone, so I'm just going to plop a few of these in. Let's go to a little checker effect we made. It's here. So it stores the sprites that you create up in a different area. It gives it enough, you know, it's like three banks worth. 3 sprite banks worth of sprites. Sprite banks, that's an old school term. Size wise, I want to go back to size 1, just a fraction off. So if I press the bracket key, in fact if I just press S, it should go to 1 eventually. Or I can press G. I think it's remembered what that brush was on. I don't know why that's changed, but that looks correct. What did I want to do? Yeah, I just want to add in a little effect here of that color. Make sure I use this mode. That way it'll choose between these 2 tones, but I'll click for that for the right color as well. It's a little trick. And just dot some of this around. And maybe a little bit brighter. It's going to go a layer above so I can delete some bits. And Z on. Let's choose that one and just got a few bits down here. Okay, Z. I think that's good. I'll just put a few little cloudy bits up here as well. See that tone changed? Varying between these two. These should be foreground and background. I'm guessing get away with a little bit. I don't want to break it too much. The checker effect just makes it look like a new color. It's like mixing colors. And it's just interesting to look at as well. Alright, so choose a little bit of white there, and the yellow again. So I'm using this very restricted color palette, and you're probably like, why not make all the intermediate colors? Because the challenge is then not a challenge. So go back to that mode. I will have shortcut buttons for these kind of things later, like, you know, pixel brush, choosing the foreground, background colors properly. If you go into this mode, it should work the way you expect as well. Yeah, because that will tint. If the brush is white, this is only it's going to tint it, so it makes sense to use that. The last one is more like tonal change based on grayscale, and that seemed to be not working. This cloud's got a little silver lining. Alright, and once again, let's do enter. You see it messing about with the trees, making all the sprites. Make a little bench. And there we go. I just need to hide that bench now. H to reveal the UI. There's still a UI button to add. Scale up. There's the bench there, and Z to turn on the eraser. And that is it. So I'm just gonna save that. I wish I could just batch out the whole thing, but what I can do is I can press B to bake it all down, but I'll save it first. Okay, this is going to be C64 high-res bench view. And I'm just going to do B. You see it's baked everything down behind the grid. I lose all that undo data, so I can't do the little replay again. And if I just come out of grid mode, that's quite a nice one. So I could even go in and do even more detailed pixels if I wanted. Right, and that finishes my little picture there. So I hope you enjoyed this video on Blitpaint's pixel modes and using like a retro palette to make something look cool, high res. And I'll catch you next one. Bye.